Hi, Kara.
Hi, Erin. How are you?
Good, very good.
Good. I'll turn my video on in a bit. I didn't get lunch today,
Oh,
so
you're
I'm eating a lunch slash dinner.
Wow, you must be busy.
That's how some days are.
Yeah. Will Kirsten be in at the collective tomorrow?
Yep.
Okay.
She'll be there.
Okay. I need to drop by and talk to her again.
Cool. Yeah, she'll be there.
Okay.
She normally gets in around 10.
Good. Okay. Holy smokes.
Folks are taking their sweet time today.
Yeah, I'm a little worried because the announcement of the meeting, I think, only went out yesterday. So
Yeah, I forgot about the meeting. But I saw the newsletter and
right.
I mean my work schedule, this is kind of a part of work for me. So
Yep.
easy to put it in there.
Right. Oh, here we are. Okay. Oh, actually, there's a bunch of people in the waiting room. Whoops.
Oh no, yeah, it's hard to forget or hard to remember the waiting room.
Yeah, I
Everybody's like,
forgot
what's
to.
going on?
Yeah, that was my bad. I forgot that I was in charge. Sorry to keep you all waiting. Look at all those folks. That's great. We had nothing to be nervous about, Kara.
I mean, I'm sure we could have had plenty of bike stuff to talk about, but it's nice to have other people.
Yes. All we need is our brave leader now. Oh, there's Austin.
Okay, hey everybody. Thanks for joining. Aaron, it's recording, right?
It is recording, yep.
Okay, sweet. Okay, we've got a great turnout. Today's
Is he frozen for anyone else?
Yeah, Austin, you're frozen.
distributed and they dish it out to cities. So we're gonna go quickly around. Roll call. Just tell me your name, and if you are a BikeWalk Provo volunteer, your position. Taylor, I'm the exhibit. Aaron.
Austin, you might want to go to audio
Yeah.
only. We're not hearing most of what you say.
Okay, is that better now?
Somewhat.
Okay, sorry, I'm out and about. Okay. Is it better now?
Yes. No. Darn it.
Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yes.
Okay. I just turned the Wi-Fi off. I just found Wi-Fi outside a fast food restaurant, but it is bad Wi-Fi, I guess.
Okay.
Okay, so just tell me your name, tell me your position with BikeWalk Provo, so everybody knows. We'll go around really quick, and I'll call names based on who I see on my screen. So Aaron.
Hi, I'm Aaron Scabland. I'm the Director of Operations for BikeWalk Provo.
Thanks. Clark.
Clark Pixton, Director of Data and Research.
Thank you. Stan.
Stan Morris, BikeWalk Provo Stories.
Thank you. Rebecca.
Becca Paulson, I do the newsletter.
Okay, and Jared.
Jared Lillywhite, Transportation Engineer for the city.
Brian.
Brian Henry, just a visiting member from the Planning Commission.
Nice. Kira.
Kira Johnson, I'm the director of Pro Bicycle Collective.
Thank you. Christine.
Christine Branson, I'm the Director of Communications for BikeWalk Provo.
Thanks. Jeff. Jeff, if you're listening, unmute and tell us
All
who
right.
you are. I don't know if I've met you before.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jeff. I'm just participating in one event. My wife Brenda wrote an article for the newsletter a month or two ago.
Awesome. Well, thanks, and we hope you keep joining us.
You bet.
Okay, Dakota.
Yeah, I'm Dakota Freusland, and I'm the secretary and the board.
Thanks.
Good to be here.
Shauna.
Shauna Meekum. I work with Mountain Land Association of Governments.
Thanks. Okay, Ben Abbott.
Ben Abbott, volunteer with BikeWalk Provo and professor of environmental science and sustainability at BYU.
Thanks. Carly.
Carly Reaver. I'm the I do service project coordinator. There we go. I found it.
Thanks. Okay, Chris Wiltsey.
Hi, I'm with Bike Utah.
Okay,
I'm
thanks.
program director.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to start off with announcements, and then Kira's going to give us an update about the Bike Collective and what's been going on at the Provo shop. So the first one is something that Christine is organizing, so I'll let her talk about it, but we're going to be in the 4th of July parade on Monday. Christine, do you want to tell the details?
Yes, you bet. So on Monday, we're participating in the pre-parade for the Freedom Festival. And the staging area, I put a map on the Facebook event that shows where to meet. It's by the indoor practice facility at BYU. The road closes to cars at 6:30 a.m. But because we're biking and walking, we can get there as long as you're there before 7:45 a.m. So enjoy the extra hours sleep that the car drivers won't get. And and you can bring friends, family, etc. You can decorate your bikes if you'd like. I think we'll try to do a little best decorated bike contest also. And then my other announcement was about the farmers market. We have been invited to have booths at the Saturday's Provo farmers markets. So if you would like to volunteer to man a booth, just let me know. You can email me or BikeWalk Provo, or there's a spot on the Slack channel that you can kind of sign up to volunteer. So those are kind of every Saturday throughout the summer.
Thanks. The farmers market, if you guys haven't been this year, it is incredibly busy. Every time I see it, it's just packed with people. So we've made well, what's nice is that the director of the farmers market is giving us a free booth whenever we want it because they like us. And it's a great opportunity for us to recruit more troops for the war on cars, basically. And then with the Freedom Parade, we are basically saying that we are promoting freedom from cars and a car-centric world. So you can ride bikes, you can ride scooters, you can ride anything that is around 10 miles per hour, 5 miles per hour, because that's about the speed we're going to be going. So we go slow.
Oh, and it's good. Thank you, Austin. And I forgot to mention, you can make signs if you'd like to put on your bike or carry with those kind of messages. Might be kind of fun. So up to you. But you guys let me get in after I check in.
Yes. If you happen to be running for city council, don't make this a campaign event. We had one person ask about that, and we told her that she could have her name on her shirt and stuff, but no, nothing saying elect me, vote for me. You can identify yourself, but it's not a campaign event. We can't legally do that. So 2 last announcements from me. Speaking of city council and campaigning, I don't know if we talked about this last time, but we have 2 BikeWalk Provo volunteers running for city council. We have Aaron and Rachel, and the organization cannot endorse them legally, but I'm personally excited about it. And then we are hosting the first and only city council candidate debate that I know of. And that's going to be on July 28th. The primary election is in August. And so we wanted to be the first after the ballots hit. Ballots are going to hit mailboxes in late July. And then a lot of people who haven't started thinking about it already will start thinking about it, and they will start researching candidates, and they will want to know what people's positions are. And so we are teaming up with the Provo Resident Sustainability Committee, which is an official city committee led by Don Jarvis, and YIMBY Provo, now led by Spencer Quain. And we'll be asking questions about land use and development, transportation, and sustainability, which in my opinion are some of the most important topics that the council needs to think about. So again, that's July 28th. It's going to be done virtually, so it makes it easy for people to attend and watch. And it'll be in the evening, 7 p.m. So make sure you put that in your calendars. We'll remind you with email posts or emails and social media posts and stuff. Okay, does anybody have announcements that they want to share, things that they're working on that the rest of the group should know? Okay, I'm going to assume no on that. Thank you. Now we'll turn the time over to Kira. who will tell us what's going on at the Bike Collective right now.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Like I said, Kira, I'm the location director of Provo Bicycle Collective. I think I know most of you. And things at the collective are going really well. We co-hosted a pride ride with BikeWalk Provo yesterday, and we had a good turnout, had a lot of fun at that. We have volunteer opportunities, and if you are interested in volunteering with us, learning a little bit more about bike mechanics and just contributing to a good cause, you can find those on our website, which is bicyclecollective.org, and you can click the Get Involved tab. And as always, we take donations, and we'll put those donations to good use. Some other exciting things, I think at the last meeting, I announced that we have open shop for members by appointment. And beginning next week, we are going to have a stand open for the general public for open shop by appointment only. And if you're not familiar with what open shop is, that's where you can come in and work on your own bike using our tools for $5 per half hour. And when you consider how much tools cost, that's a pretty spiffy deal. So we hope that you take us up on it. You can schedule that. It will be available on our website, or you can call us to schedule that appointment. And I think those are the main updates that I have from the collective.
Thanks. Have you been giving away lots of bikes lately? Because I know that was that went down quite a bit during the pandemic.
Yeah, so that did go down quite a bit during the pandemic, and that's something that I've worked pretty hard on, is reestablishing partnerships with organizations around the community. And we have been able to give away about a bike a week, sometimes more frequently than that. And if any of you know of any organizations around town that you think we should partner with, focusing on like children, low income households, new immigrants or refugees, those are the kind of populations that we target. We're partnered with a lot of people, but always open to more. And not even just in Provo, I'd love to reach more of Utah County. So let me know if you know of any.
Okay, thanks as always for what you do. It's very important work. Okay, so next, if Carly is still on, Carly messaged that she wants to announce a goat head removal project.
Yep, I'm here. So when we did the last goat head removal project, it was too early in the season, but we've been keeping our eyes peeled, and the goat heads are out, they're flowering, and so seeds are on their way, and we'd love to catch them before they get too big or too hard to remove. So we have plans. We've finalized the date. It'll be on Saturday, July 17th. It'll be in the morning. We'll be having a meeting later this week to finalize the time, and we'll get the word out later. But just wanted to give all of y'all a heads up so you can pencil it in.
Thanks. And be sure to get with Rebecca and Christine to put it on social media and the newsletter too.
Sure thing.
Cool, thanks. Okay, so next we have Jared and Rob here from the city's engineering department. And it was, what, 2 or 3 months ago when a woman riding a bicycle was hit in West Provo at the intersection of 600 South and 1100 West. And I think she got a few broken bones from what I understand. It was a pretty bad crash. And so we met with one of the residents of the area who saw the crash and a neighborhood chair there, and talked about ideas. And then we pitched ideas to Rob and Jared from the city, like some temporary low cost fixes. And they're looking to do something permanent that's quick. So they want to go even above and beyond what we're proposing. So Jared and Rob, you guys want to share your plans to fix this intersection and the progress that you're making on it?
Yeah. Do I have share screen? Looks like I do. So this is fairly straightforward. We already have a contractor under contract to do concrete improvements in the city this summer. They've been working on some ADA ramps throughout the city, some sidewalk improvements, things like that. So this portion that's in solid is just getting tacked onto his contract this summer. I can't give you the exact date when he'll be doing this because it's probably going to be tacked on the end of his contract. He's already scheduled out where he's doing other concrete improvements. But it should happen at the latest early fall. So we're going to build a 6-foot sidewalk and a curb and gutter, just connecting from where there already is sidewalk on the south property up to 600 South. It'll delineate that curve. We were out there again today. You see several times a day, several times an hour, cars will just cut into the gravel here. And so this curve will prevent that from happening. And we have spoken to the property owner here. He has a lot of sentimental attachment to these hedges. I guess they've been around for nigh on 100 years. His mom was born in this house. So we're trying to work with him to save what can be saved. Eventually, when funding is secured, there are plans to get 600 South, build sidewalk with our standard 6-foot sidewalk, 7-foot planter strip, all the way from here down to, what is that, 1600 West in front of the school. But we don't have money to do that right now. So when that happens, these hedges will probably come out for good. Until then, he's just gonna have to maintain them below 3 feet. And that is the current plan. Rob, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so the only, I better put my mic down. So the only caveat that I put to that is this is our plan going forward. We're needing to look at where exactly the property lines are. And so just kind of property lines are, we're confident about, putting in what we're proposing to put in right now in terms of what the future plans are. Those are our future plans, right? We got to work with property owners. We can't promise this is exactly how it's going to look, but
right.
Whether it's we've talked to the property owner, he'd like to save hedges and just keep them down if that's, if that's at all possible. So I don't want to make a promise to, to anybody here of this is exactly what it's going to look like until we move forward. But in terms of the sidewalk along, the curb and gutter around and connecting down into 1100 West and the sidewalk back behind it. That's our sure, more sure current plan. And then the rest of this is, here's what we're thinking, but there's a lot of property owners on here that we're going to need to work with to make sure we've got the right way to put in everything we need to put in. So, yeah.
I love it. I love how quick you guys were to respond to this thing. I've got 2 questions that I think will help everyone understand it better. So first question is, how do you think this design will prevent accident or crashes like we saw in the future with that lady? So that's the first question. And then the second question is, roughly how much does this project cost? Because I think we as volunteers outside of the city sometimes don't understand the price of these things. It'd be interesting to know how much they cost.
Well, I can answer I don't recall. I'd have to look back through to really answer your second question. I mean, this is going to be on the low end of the tens of thousands, Austin. I don't remember. I didn't bring that with me in terms of what the exact cost is. This is all kind of being put together and added to the our current contract as it stands. So I don't know that I can give you a hard price. I can say in terms of because we have looked, and I do remember that number off the top of my head in terms of if we were to put the sidewalk in, or well, we're planning on putting it in. We're trying to find the funding for it, but the kind of conceptual cost estimate until we have a hard design in of putting in curb gutter and sidewalk from 1100 west to 1600 west is about $1 million. So curb gutter and sidewalk it's not cheap. This is a pretty short stretch and it's still costing in the tens of thousands.
And Rob, how much money do you get per year for sidewalks or stuff like this?
So that's a kind of a two-part question. In terms of something that is set aside as a given, this is directly for sidewalks, whether that's fixing sidewalks or some of these shorter places where we're adding sidewalk. There is a set aside amount for of $500,000 a year. There are also project funds for designated, located in our transportation master plan or on a regional plan where we get funding for it, where the overall project includes the curb gutter and sidewalk that is separate from the set aside $500,000. So this $500,000 is different from established CIP projects. How much is done overall kind of depends on what the CIP projects that are going in for that year are. But yeah, $500,000 in terms of smaller fixes or smaller segments of sidewalk.
Thanks. And does that $500,000, does that also include your paint and sign budget, or is that just sidewalk?
That is concrete improvements. There's a separate sign and paint budget.
And from what I understand, generally we set aside half of that $500,000, 250,000 goes to concrete improvements that are associated with the road rehab project every year. So where we're already going to have construction crews in milling and overlaying asphalt, we want to fix concrete problems in those sites while we're there. And so
yeah, I saw that on 9th West, like you guys put in the ADA curb ramps and then fixed some of the buckling. That was cool.
Yeah, so that's a good example of where that 250,000 goes, and then the other 250 goes to the other ADA ramps and the other sidewalks that we've been putting in. So
and the second half of your question is, the curb and gutter, putting the curb and gutter in here really prevents anybody from cutting across into the dirt, right? And the other thing that we're going to be doing too is doing the striping of where the outside edge of that bike lane is, tying that around the corner to give vehicles a clearer view of, you need to stay outside of here. So that'll give people a clearer picture of here's where your vehicle lane is, here's where the bikes are supposed to be. So between those two things, that's really the major improvement here.
Yeah,
And
from what I understand from the police report of this particular crash, that car had cut under the gravel, which would be, I guess, not impossible, but much less likely if there is a curb, gutter, and sidewalk there.
Yeah, that would definitely help.
Yep.
Awesome. So we've got like 3 more minutes. Does anyone else have questions about this project?
I have a quick question. Does it look like 600 South there is pretty far from the sidewalk? Why wasn't a bulb mount considered for this intersection?
bulb outs that we put in are break it down to our current standard is to a 24 or 26 foot wide from whatever the street was before.
Right.
And those are specifically for turning into local streets. On where this is a collector to a collector, we're actually already proposing to continue the widths that are already on these streets, which are already smaller than our standard collector widths. But we don't cut collectors down even more, because a lot of times on collectors in the future, because of the volume of cars, well, in collectors that are built out areas, they have the volume of cars already. And then we have bike lanes on a lot of them, different things to where right there at the intersections, we need to put in right turn lanes, or there is a bike lane that's out there. There's not that same opportunity to cut it down at the intersection like there is on a local street, where you don't need a designated right turn lane. We don't have on local streets, we typically don't put in a separated bike lane because they just don't have the same volume as a collector street. But like I said, with a collector to collector, you just don't have the same opportunity to make it skinny right at the intersection because you need the width to handle the volume of cars where a collector and a collector meet. Well, not just cars, like I said, bikes too, just handle everybody.
And do collector roads typically carry more like semi truck or like bigger trucks that need the turning radius?
They can, yeah. I mean, we don't want them on local streets, right? We want them on a smaller amount of, this is where everybody else is anyways, stay here and out of the local street. Yeah.
It just seems like the image you showed that had the car in it, the radius that car would take to make that turn from the actual driving lane, seems like they could still take that corner really fast. Somebody that will just ignore the bike lane and swerve into the bike lane as they make that turn. Just curious, is this really truly going to make it safer? Obviously, it's going to be an improvement, but does it meet the threshold we really want for cycling in the city?
Well, so there's a couple of things. There is going to be, like I said, we'll continue that the bike lane line around the curve that'll more establish what it is. So it'll have on 600 South. It'll have the 2 lanes. It'll have the bike lane, and then it'll have the parking on both sides. And so, understanding that if somebody still wants to cut across, they can still cut across. I mean, there's a lot of things that we put in where if people totally ignore what we put in, they totally ignore what we put in. I mean, it's hard to get around. If people just want to be idiots, then people can be idiots in a lot of different ways. But from a biking standpoint, like I said, it establishes more. It does establish more of a here's the travel lane. Just with the hard improvements versus the lines, it is a better establishment of here's where the bikes go, here's where the cars go.
I agree with that. I mean, yes, this will be an improvement. I guess my question is it enough to make it, safe for a child who may not stay in the lane? When I let my kids ride here, are we aiming for that where it's safe for the youngest person, not just safe generally, and it's better than what was there before? So that's my question.
Yeah. So I guess the reason why in this particular thing, and I understand where you're coming from. I guess even if we bulbed it out to take out the parking lane, that's still to establish that separation between the car and the bike lane, I guess is what I'm saying is people can still, if they want to take a wide turn, even if they don't take a wide turn that includes the parking lane, they're going to take a wide turn wherever we establish it, unless we totally get rid of bike lanes at intersections, they still have that chance to cut into the bike lane. So I don't see that there's a way around that in this particular thing. As we're moving forward, our intent as a city is to establish more roundabouts, to have that be the norm for a collector to collector. We don't have the funding to make that that full improvement here at this intersection, but that is our intent. I'll be working on putting together a proposed. Our internal discussion is to make that an actual code amendment that instead of right now, I think our code says we can, but we'd propose to make it more of a that's going to be the city standard of a collector to collector. And that does help. I mean, roundabouts are shown, as probably a lot of people on this call already know, are shown to be safer from a pedestrian, bike, vehicle, everybody's safer. So there will be that in the future, but not having the funding to put all that in there, like I said, and it being more of a standard intersection without taking out the bike lane, that people are going to have a chance to, if they want to. We're trying to establish through the line work and through things of here's where you're supposed to be, but they will have a chance to cut through. It's just that's how it is at intersections.
I know we don't have a lot of time, but just one last thought. I love the idea of roundabouts. I was actually in Carmel, Indiana, 3 weeks ago. Love that. But you kind of walked into another comment I wasn't going to make. Is there a way to integrate the bike lane into the bulb out to make it the safest, where cars have to go around an island, but the bikes can cut the corner safely and closely, so that that intersection becomes more like the bike intersections we're seeing pop up in like Salt Lake and other places.
We have, there is, in terms of when this becomes we haven't, there needs to be we'd have to continue to take a look at that. There is some guidance in the, I think in NACDO, where at intersections, and I think specifically for roundabouts, if I recall correctly, there is ways that they suggest doing bike facilities, where when there is a bike facility on one, the difficulty becomes where you've got cross traffic, potential cross traffic. We need to work through, I guess. I don't have a short answer for you in terms of what the exact solution is. We need to work through and see what people's lessons learned are and stuff, where a lot of our intersections, because we have bike lanes on a lot of collector roads where you have, bikes going both ways on both streets, trying to create some refuge islands on everything and accommodate everybody. It makes it difficult, but we need to work through what we can do. That's where I'm at right now. So I don't have an answer. I don't have a hard answer of here's what we're proposing, but we're thinking about it. Yes.
I appreciate it, Rob. I'll stop grilling. Thank you for the work you're doing.
Okay, thanks. And thanks again, Rob and Jared. We always say you guys have transformed the engineering department, and it's always a pleasure.
Thanks.
So, Aaron, is Jim Price
He
here?
is with us.
Okay, sweet. So for the rest of the time, Aaron and Jim are going to lead us on a brainstorming session. I guess Jim has like mega funding ready to give to Provo if we come up with a good idea. And so Aaron can explain it.
All right. I'm having, just a moment. I need to share my screen. Let's see. Not that. Sorry. Clark. Is Clark with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Could you share your screen?
Sure.
I'm having technical difficulties.
Yeah, give me just 2 seconds here.
And let me explain, if you guys haven't met Jim, most of you probably have. He's a local legend. He's been around for decades in the active transportation planning world. He works for Mountain Land Association of Governments, the regional planning agency, so oversees regional transportation planning, and it distributes federal money.
Okay, so Jim, feel free to interject at any time. But early this year, Jim reached out to me and said that MAG had a bunch of money and that he wanted to give a lot of that money to Provo. So he asked us to come up with a big proposal. And he said, $2-3 million proposal. So BikeWalk Provo internally, and then also on Facebook, we solicited feedback from folks about what they would like to see, how they would like to see the bikeways and kind of pedestrian infrastructure improved in Provo. And Jim suggested that we kind of find a way to bring a number of different projects together and make them one big project. We based all of these on the transportation master plan. And so what you're going to see is in the city's plans, and this will be a way to accelerate this. And if I understand the the process. We'd like to get your feedback and feedback from Jared and Rob and other members of the city. And then once we have something that we're in agreement on, we're going to ask the city to make a request of MAG to kind of refine our proposal. And then we're going to submit an application to MAG for that $2-3 million. So I have no idea how much what I'm proposing here, what we're proposing here is going to cost. But I think it's within those limits, and there's low cost ways to doing what we are proposing in terms of protected bike lanes.
And Aaron, quick
Yes.
question. So we are coming up with some ideas as BikeWalk Provo.
No.
And then this Provo City is making the application.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
So we're trying to help the city out.
Yep. Yep. So we have a proposal here. I'd like your feedback. And I have a bunch of slides. I'm going to go through these quickly. Clark helped me with the visuals, so I think you'll understand what we're talking about. And then we'd like to have a discussion. So Clark, you're in control of the slides. So as I talk, just move through them accordingly. So this project is really about building on our strengths to create a seamless, wider downtown bikeway network that will also improve walkability and is connected to the wider community. Go ahead. So this is the existing network. I don't think we need to dwell on it. You know what it's like. Go ahead. This is the network downtown. Next. This is what the transportation master plan calls for. It's a combination of citywide, core, and neighborhood bike lanes. So we consulted this very carefully as we came up with this proposal. Next. We also looked at the critical barrier crossings that are identified in the transportation master plan and saw and really focused in on intersections, which often act as gaps, as barriers to getting around our city, both on bike and on foot. Next. Oh, this is more detail in the downtown area. We also looked at safety hotspots that identified where there were some problematic areas, and most of these are once again at intersections. Next. These are the ones that are in the downtown area. Okay, next. And let's, so this is what the transportation master plan calls for downtown. And I know, all of the streets are not identified. Some of these already exist, but some of them do not exist. And we'll show you which ones we would like to see to be as part of this big project. Next. So a few caveats. So this proposal does not include, but takes into account is, some future city projects that are going to happen fairly soon. The pedestrian bridge to the front runner station, the improvements that Rob and Jared are working on Center Street, the Provo River Trail improvements, and the connections to Columbia Lane and so on, and some enhanced crosswalks that are happening, I think it's Center Street and 600 East by Provo Peaks, if I'm remembering our conversation correctly. And I think there's some other things that are in the works. So this does not include those, but it takes those into account. Also, it takes into account UDOT improvements that are on their way. 300 South from 100 West to 500 West is going to be improved, hopefully in the near future. There will also be a signal on South State Street. And then I think within the next 5-10 years, the viaduct over the railway on South State Street will be improved and no longer be so scary. And then I'm not sure about the date. Maybe Jared and Rob can tell us this. The South State Street side path will also be improved and connected to 300 South. Do you either of you know the date on that, or an estimated date? No? Okay.
I don't know.
And then.
All right,
there-
I don't know.
Okay. And who knows if it's just speculation as well. And then, there's other future UDOT projects. We just found out that Geneva Road probably won't happen for another decade, which was really disappointing. But anyway, that's what the caveats are. Next slide, please, Clark. So here's the new routes that we propose. And these are a combination of protected, buffered, and regular bike lanes, but with a priority for making these protected lanes as much as possible. And these don't need to be protected lanes like the ones on Cougar. These lanes could be built at a much lower cost and be very effective if the city shows a willingness to be flexibility on what kind of materials are used. Next. So 300 North is one that's on the transportation master plan. So this is from 900 West all the way over to the east side to the bicycle boulevard on 200 East. And this would traverse the campus of Dixon Middle School. And that would still happen if the middle school is rebuilt where it's on its current site and moved to the north. And it would be great to have a kind of windy bike path through there that's a part of this route. Next. And then 900 West. This is a road that was repaved about a decade ago, and we pushed really hard for bike lanes to happen. They didn't happen, but recently, thanks to Rob and Jared, south of Center Street, 900 West got bike lanes. We'd like to see that happen north of Center Street. Next slide. And then Columbia Lane. We have world-class protected bike lanes on Cougar Boulevard, but those end at Columbia Lane. This is a really important connection to the Grandview Hill. So we'd like to see this happen. And there's been talk for a long time about this, road being rebuilt. So perhaps this would happen when that happens and not part of this big project. But we'd like to see this happen as soon as possible. Next slide. Then we have, actually, this is one thing that deviates from the transportation master plan. It calls for a bike lane or a bike route up the Carterville Road, which really doesn't make a lot of sense. There's a hill there, but also these two roads, 1720 North and 550 West, they basically run parallel to the Carterville Road, and they run by all of those student apartments, and they bring students to the UVX stop at on University Parkway, and that's what we need to do. We need to connect active transportation to transit. So we like this deviation to happen. Okay, next slide. And then 500 South. Once again, this is transit related. This road is way too wide. There's a lot of cut through speeding that happens on this street. And we'd like to see some sort of bike facilities on 500 South from 500 West over 200 West. And this would also include some crosswalk improvements, maybe a light at 500 South and Freedom, or maybe something along those lines. So once again, this is not just about bikes. This is also about PEDs as well. Next slide. All right, and then 500 North. So this already has yeah, so 500 North from 600 West, where the current bike lanes end, all the way over to Independence and to the Provo River Trail. And there's room on this street to accommodate both bike lanes and on-street parking. We've had that conversation with this neighborhood, but we need to find ways to connect the rest of the city with the Provo River Trail. And this is also on the transportation master plan. Next slide. So 100 West, this may happen as part of the improvements that are happening there. And this would be both north and south of New Skin and Center Street. I wish in some ways that New Skin wasn't blocking this route, but it is what it is. So next. All right, so some intersection treatments. And these would be, as a variety of bike signals like the 3 that we already have, maybe some Dutch style intersections, maybe flashing crosswalks for mid block places, and some bike boxes, which I've been having a conversation with Matt Parker and Heidi Goldhart about. So I won't go into the details about those, but those are really cheap. That's just paint. And if Saratoga Springs has them out in the middle of nowhere, we ought to have them on University Avenue and elsewhere in the city to help people make left-hand turns and get around. Next slide.
I love that comment. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, next slide.
Well, before you go on, Aaron.
Yep.
Be careful. Some of us live out here in the middle of nowhere.
But we have a lot more density and a lot more bicyclists here in Provo. So we love you though, Jim. And then, so I mentioned 300 West as a route that's on the transportation master plan. But the most important ways of improving, making that route a viable one is to address the crossings at 100 North. Oh, actually, sorry, I got mixed up between 300 North and 300 West. So 300 West is taking shape as a bicycle boulevard, but as Jared and Rob and all of us know, the crossings at 100 North and 800 North need to be addressed still. Next, here we are, 300 North. So the crossings at Freedom and University Avenue need to be addressed, and UVX set us up nicely to create a crossing across University Avenue. And, as that project, the PEG project comes to an end, it appears, at least according to the Transportation Master Plan, that the road through this, what's now the Smith's parking lot, will be restored. And this will be a great route along with these intersection improvements. Next, Cougar Boulevard, awesome street. But the intersections still need some improvements. They're the only part that is really all, insufficient in many ways. Okay, next. University Avenue, and these would probably be bike boxes that would need to happen. And I've been having these discussions with Matt Parker, as I mentioned. Next. Freedom. This is, I believe, on the Transportation Master Plan. You get off the front runner the train now, you go north, try to get into the city, and the bike lane ends at 300 South. It ought to at least go to Center Street, even if we have that ped bridge, because 100 West, dead ends at New Skin. We need a way for people to get to Center Street, and those would just simply be, bike lanes. Next, about a decade ago, UDOT made these great improvements to 300 South, but the connection across this intersection was never addressed. We were hoping it would be, but now we have those buffered bike lanes that UDOT built on South State Street, but this intersection still acts as a serious barrier. Next slide. Okay, some improved routes. So these are some existing routes that we would like to see become protected routes or separated routes. And I think there's just 3. So one that's really important, once again, returning to this theme of connecting transit to active transportation, is, actually, this might be a really, really, really expensive project, and we have to work with the railway, which makes it complicated. But a separated trail along the railway south of 600 South that would connect to the 200 East Bicycle Boulevard and to 600 East, which can connect people to Southeast Provo, and this new light that UDOT is going to be putting in. Right now, Southeast Provo is really a active transportation and a transit desert. So this would help to address that issue. And even if we don't do a separated path, making the bike routes or the existing bike lanes on 600 South, more robust and connect to these places would be great. Next slide. So 500 North, we have buffered bike lanes along this stretch from 600 West to 200 East. These ought to be protected lanes. There's no reason why they should not be protected lanes. We have the width to do it, and we could do it at a low cost and connect people to the library and to the rec center and to the new awesome inclusive playground. So we'd like to see this happen. And protected bike lanes are really game changers in terms of making people feel safe and willing to get out on their bikes. Next, 800 North as well. We see no reason why we shouldn't have bike lanes, protected bike lanes of some sort. Once again, they could be very low cost, going all the way across the city from 700 East to the Provo River Trail. Once again, a connection to that trail system. And that would be at the bridge where 800 becomes 820 North. And then next slide. Improved bike ped crossings. I'm just going to go through these really quickly. So this is the one at the BYU entrance. This is on a plan that the city has. This is in many ways the last piece in this bicycle boulevard that needs to be addressed. And this would be a huge benefit both to bikes and peds. Next, 500 North, 500 West, and 500 North and Freedom. I'll just go on. I think you know where these are at. And Center and 500 West. The bike lanes may not continue further to the west, but there's an intersection that needs to be addressed and made a bit more friendly. And next slide. Okay, there were other suggestions that were considered, but they were a little bit kind of outside the parameters of what we're defining as the wider downtown. And I've probably, the proposal as it stands is probably already exceeding $2 to $3 million. So we didn't include, for example, 820 South, but at some point that one needs to be addressed as well. And then final slide. Okay, so I'd love to hear feedback from Jim, from Rob and Jared, and from the group at large, so we can start refining. So we can start refining this proposal, and then get the city to request funding for outside consultants to further refine it, and then use that to apply for these funds.
Aaron, before you start the discussion,
yep,
we only have 3 minutes until 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You're good. So I would say that we could talk for a little bit, but a lot of the discussion could happen on the BikeWalk Provo Chats Facebook group. So I would post this PowerPoint there as well.
Right. And also I think in meetings, subsequent meetings with Jared and Rob and others at the city to get their feedback after they've had more time to kind of examine what we're proposing.
Yeah.
Austin, do you mind if I take about 2 or 3 minutes to kind of bring everybody up to speed on what what the parameters
Absolutely.
of what we're talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think everyone should get that background info.
Okay, real quick. Every 2 years, MAG has a funding round for transportation needs across Utah County, and we distribute about $100 million in that funding round. Our next funding round begins this fall, which is why we wanted to start talking about these projects now. And for Jared and for Rob, who I know are new to the city and probably not as familiar with the funding that comes through MAG, as maybe Shane Winters is. And Shane is very familiar with that. And he and I have talked a little bit about what I have requested of BikeWalk Provo, is to get a sense of what the needs are in the city that we could begin to address again. Last funding round, Provo was given $15 million for the airport. And before that, they focused on some big road needs, which the city has definitely needed. And it's been a while since any bike pedestrian facilities were funded through MAG, and we would certainly like to see that start happening again. Other than Cougar Boulevard, which we put some money into, but UDOT did as well as the city. And these funds are going to become available in about 3 years at the earliest, about 3 to 4 years. So we're not talking, this is not going to be something that will be happening overnight. This is a process, and this will take some time to go through that process. But we want to take advantage of the fact that we're starting it this fall, and get Rob and get Jared on board and understanding what's going on with this. The other thing is that once we get into the details of what you select as your priorities, and what I would suggest highly is that your priorities not include paint. Paint is something that the city usually has the ability to do fairly easily, and our committees have been not willing to spend funding on things like that the cities can do pretty easily, say painting simple bike lanes. So let's focus on hard infrastructure and or signals, things like that. And once we come up with a prioritized list of those things that Rob and Jared are comfortable with, then we can bring in, if they request it, if they so need, we can bring in Alta Planning and Design through our what we call the aftercare program to help the city come up with solutions to these identified problem areas, and even come up with initial designs for the city that they can then apply for funding to implement. Okay, so with that said, what I would very much suggest is that you begin to kind of pare down. Aaron, I think Aaron was correct. He's seeing that this is going to be more than $2 or $3 million. That $2 or $3 million that I'm suggesting is kind of a base amount. You can go over that, you can go under that, but I wouldn't go much under that. And I wouldn't go too much over that, maybe $3 to $5 million total, as far as the city is concerned. But kind of pare that down along those guidelines. Hard infrastructure or signalization and make a priority list, and then we can work together on helping develop concepts and designs for those priority lists that maybe Rob or Jared either don't have the time or don't have the background to quite implement. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Jim, for that feedback. That's heartening. That's great. And thanks for your support. Austin, how much time do we have to discuss? Do we want to hear what people think is really, really important among this laundry list that I threw out? Austin, are you still with us? Are you muted?
I'll just chime in real quick. I think this is really awesome, Aaron, man. This would be so exciting. And I just want to lend my support to the idea of the protected lanes particularly, and doing something big, like Jim says, and getting beyond paint, because I think that will make the biggest difference. And then the paint can come later.
Yep.
Hey, Aaron, something we could do at Bike Utah is we could take the streetlight data and we can take your presentation and your recommendations, and we could do an analysis to see what correlates where, and we could create a priority list, and we could also put in crash data as part of the regression. And so we could do like a pretty robust analysis to figure out a priority list based off of certain criteria like that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Can you send that to me?
Yes, yeah. I'm curious what Jared and Rob's reaction is.
I think Chris's prioritization list based on data and crashes would be helpful. I was wondering if you guys had any prioritization on there, if it was presented in order of priority, or just in order that it came up on the master plan.
Their order has not been implemented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How soon would you need that? I guess whoever's I'm gonna hand it off to.
Yeah, actually, and I think this is a question for Jim. How refined does this proposal need to be before the city makes a request for MAG to hand it off to Alta?
Right now, it doesn't have to be that refined. It just needs to be, I think it needs to be a priority list. I think that either Rob or Jared have the chops to take a kind of a quick look at this and take a quick guess at how much it will cost in total. With those parameters in mind that we've talked about. And once we have that kind of that more limited and more detailed or directed project priority list, then we can bring in Alta to help Jared and to help Rob develop some concepts.
And Jim, can you give us some guidance on timeline? How quickly, or, how, do we need to move on this?
Well, it kind of depends on how much time or how quickly the city can move. We're going to start talking about these things this fall, meaning about November.
Mhm.
So we've got a little bit of time to start doing this, which is we wanted to do this ahead of time and get that ball rolling. The first thing we need to do is we need to have idea forms. I don't have dates for that, but we'll start explaining to the cities, to each city, when we start have meetings with them this fall, and we'll get the dates and the timeline of the funding process out. This will take most of next year, or the early part of next year, before we get through to completion and get approval for funding, which would be, I believe, hey, Shauna, I saw you on here, if you remember. Are you still there, Shauna?
Kind of.
Kind of. Sorry, I need to bring you into this. Maybe I'm trying to remember. Our funding process will take place from this fall through spring and early summer next year, and final decisions should be made by next September.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of the overall program, we've been made aware of it. I can't say that we have our own list yet, knowing that it was going to kind of commence this fall, that we had put together our own list, because we haven't. But yeah, I mean, our intent was to look into this. The short answer being, Aaron, in terms of what all you proposed, I'll have to take a look at it and see, because there are some things that are part of even our plan, as we've talked, our plan to do, that I know we might be able to move sooner with some MAG funding, but some of the things are kind of tied to, I guess, our current plan, knowing that there's development coming in certain vicinities, was to work with them to get it in at that point. If there's an opportunity, we may be able to do that sooner with the MAG funding. I need to take a look and see where all you were proposing and see where things stand with all those, is a short answer, but we're supportive of going after these.
Rob, you said you wanted more money, so we're
Sure.
doing our
Yeah.
best.
We can always use more.
Yeah.
I have to head out, but we'll keep talking about this in our meetings with
Okay.
Austin and Javin and you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Austin, I'm going to turn it back to you. Or I don't know if Austin's with us. Austin, are you there? Huh. All right. Well, I'm going to take over then. And I think we can wrap things up. I don't think there was anything else on our agenda. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Special thanks to Jim and Shauna for joining us from MAG. And also Jared has left us, but thank you, Rob. Please let Jared know that we really appreciate you two and all that you're doing and all the changes that we've seen. And I think we've got a lot of momentum, and we look forward to that being accelerated through this and other things going forward. So everyone have a wonderful July 4th. And we look forward to seeing you next month in August, and enjoy the ride. See you next month.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank Jim. Thanks, Jim.
Rob, hey, we need to meet, Rob.
Yeah, I agree. I'll reach out to you next week.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim. We'll be in touch.
Darren, appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, glad to do it. And thanks, Chris. That data will be invaluable. Austin, are you there? All right, I'm gonna wrap things up. Thank you, Logan. Good luck with your move.
Hey, thanks. Good to see you. I just joined for the last couple of minutes, but thank you.
You're good. We're always glad to have you. And Elise, you're still in Pleasant Grove, right?
Hey, Logan, are you moving to Provo?
No, sorry, I'm sticking around in Springville.
We just moved this weekend too, but we moved to Suncrest.
Suncrest. That's like in Draper, right?
Yeah.
Up on the mountain?
Yep.
Oh. You wanted more hills to climb on your
Yeah,
bike.
that's what I was gonna say. I already did my first ride this morning, did AF Canyon, and then it was just brutal to get up after that.
To get home. Well, enjoy. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you guys need any engineering help, we'd love to be part of all that.
Remind me which firm are you with?
I'm at Horrocks.
Horrocks, okay. Okay,
Yeah,
we'll keep that in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of really cool new hires, like some of the people that used to work for Park City and a lot of other good people like that. So
Cool. All right, I hope you can participate in helping us change Provo, provide the technical expertise.
that is an amazing, yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, this would be a game changer, I think. Yeah.
Seriously, yeah. Too bad they won't let Geneva. Too bad Geneva's gonna be 10 years out though. That's a big one that needs help.
Yeah, it is. That's the road that I get the most questions about.
I bet.
Yeah. And the West Siders feel, for that reason and many other reasons, they feel neglected. So So,
Yeah, I can see that.
all right, I'm going to end things. So we'll see you next month.
See ya.
Bye. Bye-bye.